Good afternoon and welcome to the 213th episode of the Georgia Farm Bureau Georgia Prep Sports Drive for the GHSA State Title. We've been covering a lot of basketball. I haven't had a guest on in a while, so today we're going to try to connect with Kell head football coach Bobby May. Talk about the Longhorns' chances this season. He'll be entering year two. A lot of excitement surrounding the Longhorns, so I'm going to try to connect with him real quick. Let me text him. And there's a lot of reasons I wanted to get him on. One, I find it interesting that he's been there a year, that a 10-2 season, but also we're going to be kicking off the high school football season at Kell 22 weeks from today. They're going to be hosting day one of the Corky Kell. It's going to be Johns Creek against North Atlanta at 4:30, and then Parkview against Kell in the night slot. That is going to be a really exciting matchup right there. So I emailed him. He was trying to connect from his computer, and we'll see if that works. But I think the biggest – here we go. Coach May, how's it going?
Good. How are you? Sorry, I had a little
Doing well.
technical difficulties.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much for coming on. So let's just start out by talking about Kell High School. A lot of people saw you make that move from Westlake, a tremendous program, to Kell. You obviously saw something there. So just talk about how it's been after a full year.
Yeah, it's been great. It's been everything we kind of anticipated. I mean, the admin's super supportive. Obviously, it's a great place to live. Across the board, academically, athletically, I think it's a really special place, and it's a good time to be a Longhorn.
Absolutely. One of the things that you were really celebrated for at Westlake, all the players that ended up going on to the next level. After year one, obviously Kell has a lot of recruiting attention too, but how has signing day been, and what did the class of 2023 look like?
Yeah, so we had a pretty small class for 2023. We only had really 7 seniors who played. We had 11 total. 5 of those guys went on to, 4 of them signed scholarships. One of them was preferred walk-on at Georgia Tech. So we feel really good about what that class was. A really talented class. It was just so we're really excited for those guys. And now we're on to 24 and 25.
Refresh your memory. Who was the referred walk-on at Georgia Tech?
Nelson Walgren.
Okay.
He was actually a first-year player for. Well, he played as a ninth. He didn't play as sophomore and junior year, so I guess he wasn't really a first-year player. But he was a defensive back for really good player, all-region player, and had some scholarship opportunities, but his dream school was Georgia Tech. So
Gotcha. Sorry, it started to break up a little bit there. In terms of this next class, though, you said you didn't have a lot of seniors last year. You guys have a ton of class of 2024 prospects. Obviously, the most interesting being your quarterback, Bryce Clavin. He's rated a perfect 10 for his baseball abilities. He's projected as a potential first-round draft pick. He said he wants to play football and baseball as long as he can, but what's it looking like for Bryce? Just what's in store for him his senior year? Looks like we cut out right there. So, yeah, Bryce Clavin, their quarterback. The guy is a really special athlete. He ran a legit 4.4 this last week. He's squatting over, I think I saw him squat 405 3 times as a quarterback. He was their leading rusher last season. He completed 70% of his passes. He's got a huge arm. And, yeah, in terms of baseball, he's unbelievable. I think at one point he was committed to Oklahoma to play. He's exploring his options. He said he wants to play both sports at the next level. But he's one of those rare guys where he can be a starter at Division I Power 5 for either sport. So what is he going to do? He's obviously playing baseball right now, but his focus will be on just leading Kell this next season and having a strong 2023, I like their chances in Class 5A. And I think just Coach May comes in. He was a former offensive coordinator at Westlake. He knows how to take advantage of his pieces. And last year, it was kind of a running back by committee surrounding Bryce Clavin back there. He obviously sparked the offense throwing the ball. He had Peyton Zachary, a great receiver who had a breakout freshman year. They had some running backs that were catching out of the backfield, but I'd have to look it up. Their lead running backs were also starting linebackers. So the big question will be, who's going to step in and fill that running back role this year in what is sure to be an explosive offense, and how can they build in that department? So let's look real quick at the stats. So last season, through the air, Bryce Clavin had 2,668 yards, 24 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions, 223 yards per game. On the ground, he was their lead rusher on the season. He had 789 yards, but that was Elijah Washington, the junior. He stepped up, had 663 yards, but just 3 touchdowns. I think he was also the starting linebacker. So they have a lot of athletes. Do they have a true running back? They've gotten some transfers, and then also sometimes it's out of necessity. If you have a guy that could be your starting running back, but you really need him defensively in that linebacker role, you obviously can't negate that. You got to put him in and get that defense going. So I'm going to be interested to see if we can reconnect with him. Okay, one sec. I think this has happened to Coach May before. One sec. Let's try one more time. And I think what I was talking about with him making the move to Kell was a big deal. Westlake's a 7A school. They've had tremendous seasons. He had a ton of success there. And all the different players that were coming out of Westlake going on to the next level was amazing. Every year it seemed like they'd have double-digit prospects, probably one of the most talented schools in terms of generating secondary talent and putting guys in the NFL, even top 5-star, 4-star recruits. Let's see. Is he back up? One sec. All right, and then obviously the other excitement at Kell is just their basketball teams winning both state titles. That's a great way to kind of show people the Kell brand, get that name recognition, and obviously it's exciting anytime you're in the hallways. You guys are sweeping state championships, and that was an incredible game. That Kell, Warner Robins won on the girls' side. Crystal Henderson didn't disappoint. And then in the boys' game, Eagles Landing was outstanding, and they really had to fight in that game to get the championship. I've mentioned C.J. Brown. What he was able to do down the stretch was truly incredible. Some of the most athletic plays I've seen. So we still don't have him. All right, let's go back and look at their season last year, though, because the last time we had Coach May on was when they were 6-0, heading into a big matchup against Cambridge. Kell's had a lot of good teams. They have not won a region, though, I believe since, say, 2010, 2011. It's been a while. Last year they came one game shy of taking a really tough Region 6. Cambridge ultimately got it. They came out and they got the 42-24 win. Kell was ranked number 5 at the time. I mentioned they were 6-0. Coach May said they had a great week of practice, probably the best practice they've had, and then they just came out and had a really tough first quarter with turnovers. They couldn't get it together. It was a really frustrating game for them to really be undefeated and really kind of squander the game right away, have to climb back from, I think it was a 4-touchdown, 3-touchdown deficit. They did have more success in the second half, but it was a really frustrating game. But then they responded with 4 straight wins and then fell in the Sweet 16 to Calhoun, a really successful Class 5A program that obviously Kell will have to be competing with again this upcoming season. But overall, I thought with all the youth they had last year, they did have a great run in his debut season. And that Parkview game is going to be a really tough task for them. Parkview obviously has a new head coach, but they have a ton of talent. Kyler Spain in the backfield, Mike Matthews, rising senior at receiver, and then Peyton Zachary. So you're going to see 2 of the best receivers in the state. And then you got to factor in something we haven't seen with Kell, and that's the addition of Kyle Vaca to this offense. He had over 700 yards receiving last year for Johns Creek. He's coming in now to really provide Kell another explosive option at receiver, a tough, experienced player, someone that can block, someone that can get yards after catch, and I think he will fit in well. When Coach May was talking about Peyton Zachary, the freshman who's just blowing up with the offers, just got offered by Georgia recently as a rising sophomore. He's not even a sophomore yet. You can't really point to breakout speed. It's not the size of Peyton Zachary. He's just a guy that understands the game. He catches everything, and he makes plays. Some players just have that ability to make big plays where it's not necessarily through running guys over or just out sprinting him. He's just great at jumping, finding the ball, and has that athleticism. Let's talk a little bit more about Bryce Clavin, though, and what he can potentially do this season. He's been picking up a lot of offers for football, but some colleges are a little hesitant because he's such a high baseball recruit. They feel like he might end up going that route. And so he's assured them that he wants to play football, and whether or not he makes that decision, I think it's a smart move to leave that window open, and he definitely has earned it. Right now he's a 3-star football prospect. He's picked up offers from Appalachian State, Eastern Kentucky, UNLV. Coach May, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, no problem at all.
You know how these schools are.
Yeah. Let's talk about the offense real quick. Last year you said that you were kind of running back by committee. You had some linebackers that were starting on that side, coming over to play running back for you. What's that position kind of looking like heading into spring and this upcoming season?
I think we returned everybody that was in that group. I think a lot of those guys played a lot of defense last year, and hopefully we developed some depth on defense, so they won't have to do that. Or at least if they do, it'll be a little bit more sparingly than before. But we kind of got a really good combination of guys like Elijah Washington, who's a 210-pound, kind of power back, and then Justin Mitchell, who's a quicker guy, and then Tyreek Green, who's a rising sophomore for us, who really came on towards the later part of the year as a freshman. He's kind of the combination of the two. He's a Division I player. Probably end up on defense, but he's going to play a lot of running back for us this year too.
Yeah, and obviously Bryce Clavin is a really dangerous runner.
Yeah.
I was looking at his social media. I mean, he just seems to be an absolute freak athlete. I saw him clock a 4.4. He's obviously an incredible baseball player. Saw him squatting 405 for 3 reps. Talk about just the type of athlete that Bryce Clavin is, and because you've obviously seen a bunch of great athletes over the years.
Yeah, he's a great athlete. He could probably play probably be one of our best receivers, best running back, and obviously, he's an elite baseball player. He works really, really hard, at everything he does. So, he was born with a lot of talent, but he's also worked really hard to get where he is.
And then Peyton Zachary, he had a great freshman year. It's obviously paying off. Every time I log on the internet, it looks like he's picking up another offer. What's kind of his mindset? I mean, he's got a lot of years ahead of him still, but just what he's been focusing on to have another special season.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid kind of the sophomore slump. Last year, we're kind of motivating by last year. You took everybody by surprise, and this year you don't have that ability. So you're gonna have to work harder to create matchups for yourself and to get open. Where last year, at least in the beginning of the year, people didn't really respect him.
Yep, and let's just talk real quick about what happened this last week with the basketball teams. That was incredible to see them both get it done for the first time in the same season. It was really special. What was that like just in the hallways? Just how excited what were the Longhorns to really just have that special run together?
Yeah, it was awesome. I mean, they've obviously been really good all year, but everybody kind of whispered it, but nobody really wanted to really talk about the fact that they could win a state championship in the same year. I'm not really sure when the last time that's happened as far as boys and girls, at least in a bigger classification. I'm not really sure the last time that's happened, but there's a lot of excitement going around Kell, and we brought 3 spirit buses down there. A lot of those kids were football kids, and me and my family were down there, so it was a really good time, and we're excited for the basketball programs and both really great coaches and some really great kids in that program.
Yeah, and it was so exciting because the girls got it done first, and then that boys game, it really tightened up. Eagles Landing was really good. What do you think, though, of C.J. Brown at the end between that insane reverse layup he had and then that block on that dunk? I mean, that was some top basketball action right there.
Yes, CJ is a great athlete. He's actually in my weight training class, so I get to spend some time. The whole basketball team is they do weight training with me, and they're all really good kids. CJ's an elite athlete. I wish he still played football. He used to play football, but he's a really good kid, and I knew that we had the depth to outstand Eagles Landing. I was a little concerned though that it'd be a little bit weird if the girls got it done and the boys didn't, or whatever, or vice versa. But I knew they could get it done because our basketball team works really, really hard, and they have a lot of good players on that team.
Yeah, it was huge for the school. That is a big accomplishment. Obviously, you're a big proponent of players playing multiple sports. Obviously, you guys had a ton of track guys when you were at Westlake. Same sort of deal now. But what is spring looking like for you guys, just from a football standpoint? And what do you guys plan to do?
Right now we're not doing much as far as football goes. We're just kind of focused on the weight room, and the kids get together on their own and do some things. But we won't really fire it up as far as doing anything until April, and then we're hoping to push that back because we push a lot of kids to run track, and we have a couple of kids that are first year track kids that really have a chance to make state or at least sectional. So we're hoping to keep pushing spring back as far as we can because we want to make sure that those guys can finish the track season out and things like that, and then we'll kind of figure out how spring looks for us after they finish, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And then I mentioned that Kell's going to be hosting doubleheader in the Corky Kell this year. It'll be the first games played in the entire state, if not the country. It seems to come up pretty quickly. It's only 22 weeks away, but I mean, how exciting is that going to be year 2 playing in your home stadium in the Corky Kell against Parkview?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be really awesome. Obviously, I think we have some really nice facilities here, and I think we'll really do a good job of putting on a first-class event. And I think Johns Creek and North Atlanta is gonna be a really good game. And then, we have a really big challenge for us in front of us with Parkview. Obviously, they're a little bit more than twice the size of us as far as enrollment, but we're not backing down from anybody, and I'm sure they're saying the same. So I think we'll put on a good show for everybody as far as the whole experience, and it'll be a great way to kick off high school football.
And then back to last season real quick. You guys were 6-0. We talked right before that Cambridge game. That was an interesting one because, I mean, you guys just came out and really had a tough start to it, shot yourselves in the foot, figuratively. That had to have been a learning opportunity, but also a game that really kind of disappointed you guys and how you guys were able to come out. What was the takeaway from that Cambridge game, knowing that you're going to have to square up against them next year?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good and bad. I think we kind of Cambridge is a really good team. Obviously, they're really well coached, and they had a bunch of seniors last year who were kind of primed to win the region championship. And but we shot ourselves in the foot. And the good thing about that is that kind of a lot of those errors were unforced, so we know it's on us, and we know that if we're firing all cylinders, and we can beat anybody on our schedule. So I like to keep more or less than anybody else. So obviously, we turned the ball over 3 times in the four possessions, and really it was drop snaps or whatever it was. And but we fought back, and we made it close for a minute, and then but we know we can beat anybody we play, and we just have to take care of business on our own. And we were really young on offense last year, so we're excited about what we have coming back.
100%. And so last year you transitioned to Kell. This offseason it's been crazy, just so many coaching changes. Did your staff change at all through this carousel, or did you guys largely remain intact?
No, we're pretty lucky. I mean, to be honest with you, this will be the year that probably 75% of my staff's the same. Here, obviously, we added some guys when I came to Kell last year, but we didn't lose anybody from last year's staff. We did add one person, but we didn't lose anybody so far. So we've been really, really lucky, and we feel good about where our staff is and kind of the camaraderie between our staff and the kids and things like that.
That's good. And then I pointed out a player that's going to be new to the program. I've gotten to meet him and watch him over the years. Kyle Vaca, coming over from Johns Creek. He's had a nice little career coming off a 700-yard season. I mean, how big is that? Just another offensive weapon to kind of add to this attack.
Yeah, more than as far as on field stuff. He's come in the last month. He's with the track program to be a big factor for us off the field with his leadership. Our senior who has kind of experience playing at that. Some big things on the field. We have some really, really good receivers. I think that's probably our strong suit on the team, and he's definitely kind of on the top of that group, and I think he's gonna have a great year.
For sure. And then with Peyton Zachary, we were talking about how it's not necessarily his physical abilities, it's not his breakaway speed. He's just a guy that kind of does everything right for you, and that's why it translates to the field. So how important is it for these underclassmen to step up when you guys need them?
Yeah, I mean, like you said with Peyton, like he doesn't really. I mean, he's a really, really, really good route runner, and he just has a really, really good feel for the game. But he's not, super fast. He's obviously not very big, but he catches everything, and he finds a way to get open. I mean, we have young lads, so a lot of guys got experience. We're still pretty young this year, but we feel pretty good about the talent level we have coming back on the offensive side of the ball. And it's really important to get those guys. A lot of guys got meaningful reps last year, which is going to help them, obviously this year.
For sure. And then defensively, real quick, just talk about who you're excited to see come out and compete this upcoming season and kind of who to be watching for.
Yeah, I think on the back end, we're going to be as good as anybody. We have 6 or 7 DBs that we feel really good about, and then linebacker-wise, we have 3 or 4 linebackers we feel really good about. But obviously, it's pretty tough to replace Josh Barker. So we lost him, and we lost our other 2 kind of starting defensive ends. So we're kind of starting from scratch line, but we feel good about everything behind that. So we're gonna have to get creative a little bit. But guys like Tyshawn Nat, Justin Logan is a linebacker coming back. Mikey Dominic's a linebacker, sophomore linebacker who played a ton as a freshman year. Those are guys who've had really good off seasons. They've grown a ton, and they've grown a ton in the weight room. So we like I said, I think our defense is good.
Yeah, and out of those 3 you just mentioned, Logan, he's going to be the senior. What have you just seen from him? Obviously, 1 varsity year left. That sense of urgency kind of cranks up as soon as that junior year ends. But, I mean, how big of an opportunity is this upcoming year for him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been a hard worker since I got here, but when I got here, he was a receiver. So
Mhm.
obviously, he had the body type for linebacker, which and the length and things like that, which is why we moved him. But obviously, you know, going into an offseason as a linebacker is going to help him a ton because he didn't have that last year. So now he's able to, put in the extra work and really study the game as a linebacker. Where last year was kind of like, hey, August came around, you need to play linebacker, and he did a great job. But I expect him to have a huge year this year. He's the leader of our defense. He's a very smart kid. He's got over a 3.5 GPA. He's obviously got the talent on the field, and now he just needs to lead that group.
Awesome. That'll be exciting. Well, Coach May, I'll let you get back to it. Thank you so much for coming on, and go Longhorns.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys.
Yep, you bet. All right. So there you have it. And real quick with Justin Logan, he said he played receiver. He's now 6'3", 210 pounds. He had 66 tackles last year as a junior, and apparently his recruitment has been blowing up. Tyshawn Nat was the other playmaker. He was a sophomore last year, finished second on the team with 11 tackles for loss, 65 tackles. He'll be stepping in for his junior year. And then Michael Dominic, he was another freshman that came in last year for Kell. He's coming off 38 tackles and 3 tackles for loss. So they're still going to be relying on some underclassmen, but it's kind of that experienced youth where they've had a full varsity season under their belt. Once again, Kell's coming off a great 10-2 season. I think Cambridge was a really special team last year. They ended up winning that region. They've been great the last couple of years. Had 2- and 3-year starters all over the place. A great offensive line as well. But I think it's going to be between Kell and Cambridge once again this year to compete for that region title. And let me just double check when the last time. Yeah, the last time Kell won a region title was the 2014 season, so it's almost been 10 years. Their 10-2 record last year was their first double-digit win season since 2016. They were coming off back-to-back 6-6 years. But those 6-5, 6-4 seasons were in Class 6A. Kell went down to 5A. That has opened up some opportunities, but you look at 5A, Warner Robins, Ware County, Jones County, Dutchtown, Mays, Calhoun, Cartersville, Cambridge. There are a ton of good teams, but you got to think Kell is right in there. And as Coach May says, they feel like they can beat anyone. So that will be really exciting. We will be continuing to cover Kell this offseason, see what they've got going on over there. And once again, that's where the high school football season is going to be kicking off on August 16th. But let's go ahead and take a quick break and thank our sponsor, Georgia Farm Bureau.
Our mission has always been to support Georgia farmers. That's why we created Georgia Farm Bureau Mutual Insurance Company, providing financial protection that farmers needed. While this remains the same today, we've grown to protect all Georgians through home, auto, and life insurance. From the very beginning and into the future, we stand for every Georgia community.
We are a Farm Bureau.
All right, welcome back. And yeah, I thought that was also interesting with the senior class. That was Nelson Woghiron, the 6-foot strong safety. He's the one that got a preferred walk-on at Georgia Tech. So that will be interesting to watch, see how he can compete for a potential role with the Yellow Jackets, who seem to be on the rise. But let's go to what I think is one of the more intriguing storylines in spring this season, and that is the Chamblee girls soccer team. So last year, if you are to look at who the state champions were in girls soccer, you will see that Class 5A is vacated. Chamblee had a 19-4 season, and they pretty much dominated the playoffs. They had a 10-0 win over Woodland, 10-0 over Ware County, 6-2 over McIntosh. Big game in the semis, 3-1 victory over Busted Trinity. And then they got into the state championship, played Midtown, and won 8-1. So they were all excited to win that state championship. But then it got vacated, I think, a week or two afterwards. And it was obviously disappointing. I think they had because Chambly, I think the location where it is, they do have some players that live out of the district. It was, I think, a filing error with some of the girls, and so that was tough for them. Well, they have since fixed those infractions, and they seem to be on a mission this year in what they're calling the Revenge Tour. And right now they are 12-0-1. They won last night 10-0. They won last Friday 10-0. They won last Tuesday 10-0. And they have outscored their opponents 77-5 this season. Their only non-win was a 2-2 tie against Marist, who's in 6A, so they won't even have to worry about them. So I have an article right here just about what Chambly's overall mindset is, just after a tough way to end last year where they thought they had the state title. So the soccer season is back after a controversial ending to last year. The girls' varsity team made it to the 5A state championship and blew out Midtown 8-1. Despite winning the game, their title was taken away due to a rule violation. These unfortunate events are part of what is inspiring this year's team. I think this season we're more motivated because it's the Revenge Tour, and we have to get back what we lost last year, said Cameron Fowl, one of the team captains. And a lot of people know how good we are this year, so a lot of other teams are out for us. Another effect of last season's controversy is the team has new coaches. Coach Miles is from Chambly Middle School. Coach Josh has been there the whole time. Coach Pat has also been there. Cameron Washburn and Sarah Washburn's dad. Sorry, this article is a little confusing. Coach Miller, who does JV, and then Coach Mike, who's from Colorado. So they revamped the coaching staff, but the big-time playmakers from last year's run are still there. So the players are aware that it is a change in terms of coaching, but overall they don't think it will have too much of an effect on their play. I think the new coaches will be an adjustment, said Solai Washington, a junior on the team. Another change being implemented this season is more morning practices. Due to many spring sports and limited field space at Chambly, the solution for equal practice time is teams having practice at 6 a.m. a few days a week. Girls soccer is lucky enough to only have to do this once a week. Let's see. Talk about team chemistry. Ansley Harrison, she's a junior. She's back on that team as well. But really, I tried to look up what the actual infraction was. I couldn't find it. Every time I clicked on an article, it said my computer was being hacked. But I just found that interesting that a team that did win last year, they ended up breaking a rule. They take it away, and then they're even better this year. It's unbelievable. Outscored them 77-5. So watch out for Chambly, and they will be playing Decatur next. That's a big region rival. Then they're going to play a cross classification match, probably on the schedule to get them ready for the playoffs, and that's Roswell. And then they just have two more games. They have a region game against Lithonia, and then they close out the season with Brookwood, another game that will be a great test heading into the playoffs. So Chambly keeps dominating. They're only giving up 5 goals in 13 games. They're blowing teams out with mercy rules, and they seem to be very motivated. So I'm sure if they are able to get the title this year, it will be very sweet for them. So let's talk about the boys soccer real quick. And the team I want to talk about is Johnson Gainesville. who, like Chambly, is just dominating opponents this year. They are 11-0. They beat Dalton 1-0 last Friday, and then had another shutout last night against a 10-2 Chastity team. That was a region game. They won 3-0. They have now shut out their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Shut out their last 9 opponents. Their first 3 games of the year, they won 3-1, 3-1, and 2-1 against great teams: Gainesville, a rival, Flowery Branch. They've outscored their opponents 46-3 this year. Really incredible what Johnson Gainesville is doing. So let's just look at how many state titles they've won versus Dalton. All right, so Dalton has 6. And then Johnson Gainesville, they won 5A last year, and they also won in 2018. So they're trying to win their 3rd. So that would be, let's see who they beat last year. But, I mean, I haven't seen many teams giving up just 3 goals with 4 games left in the season. It's just incredible the type of defense they must be playing. And obviously, they're in those big-time matchups with Dalton for a reason. I think Dalton's in 6A now, though. They lost to Lassiter last year, I believe. Nope, Dalton is in 5A. Okay, so they are going to be potentially squaring off again in the playoffs. So that will be interesting to watch. 2 of the top boys soccer programs, not only in the state, in the country. So we'll be keeping an eye on that. In terms of lacrosse, talked about it a little bit on Monday. I really like Blessed Trinity on the boys' side. They've been perfect this season. They're 9-0, and they keep playing just top program after top program. They beat Lambert 9-8. They beat Lassiter, Milton. Milton's actually struggling this year, but they also beat Marist, North Gwinnett, South Forsyth, Walton 14-11. Walton made it to the 7A finals last year. They beat St. Pius 17-7. They beat Johns Creek 17-4. They will be playing Cambridge tonight, and then on Saturday, a tremendous matchup against Lovett, the defending state champs. Lovett had an undefeated season last year, and they obviously are one of the top programs. I think that will be a big-time matchup. They will not be in the same classification. Lacrosse has been split up. It was previously 7 and 6, and then A through 5. Now there's 3 different sections, if you will: 7A, 6A. Sorry, 7A is by itself, then 6A, 5A, and then 4A down. So Lovett will be in the 4A down. BT will be in the 6A, 5A. And so BT, the other big game on their schedule, they play Pope a week from Saturday, and then Westminster, Fellowship, Centennial, all absolute powerhouses. And then their final game of the season is going to be against Roswell. So BT, they've been perfect. Their schedule definitely doesn't get any easier. We saw Lovett go undefeated last year. It'd be really hard for a team to do it this year. But you look at Roswell, they're also 9-0. So you have what would be one of the most exciting regular season lacrosse matchups to close out the year. BT against Roswell. They're both in the same region now. The schools are just, I think, 1 or 2 miles apart. Everyone in Roswell would be at that game. It would be tremendous. So I thought that was just interesting to see what BT and Roswell are both doing, and they're on a potential collision course, and that rivalry is only getting better. It's going to be in every sport. And really, before this this year, those teams didn't really play. It's like they're right next to each other. There is that rivalry. Maybe they cross paths, but now not only are they playing, the games matter because they're in the same region. Once BT got classed up into 6A and Roswell went down to 6 from 7. So that's going to be huge. Other news, I'll talk real quick. This weekend, we're going to have the Lakeside DeKalb Hall of Fame. It's the 5th year of it. And I think it's just really important what that event has been able to do, not only for Lakeside and the Vikings, but it has had a tremendous effect in what Score Atlanta has been up to as a business. And also, that was really the test case for the Georgia High School Football Hall of Fame. Once that got launched 5 years ago, and IJ was able to see how it played out, he was able to take that same model and then apply it to Georgia high school football, and we were able to get that Hall of Fame launched last year. And obviously it's going to be a year two this year. It was a great event. Lakeside DeKalb really was the premier site for athletics in the 70s and 80s. That was when, it was obviously a new school, but it was situated right in DeKalb, and they just won so many state championships. Took top playmakers from a lot of these schools, had great coaches come in and establish a program. And, you look at the list each year of who's getting into it, it's unbelievable. You have just across the board in sports, they've had tremendous tennis players, gymnastics for boys and girls, the track program, baseball, soccer was huge at Lakeside. They won football state championships, had Wayne Crewman as their head coach. But in this class, a couple interesting inductees I want to highlight. Alec Can, he was a class of 2008 product from Lakeside DeKalb. He was drafted by Atlanta United as one of their homegrown prospects. I think in 2016, he ended up, I wouldn't say but he was on Atlanta United when they ended up winning the MLS Cup in 2018. He's also been on the youth under 19 national team. He's currently playing for Cincinnati FC. He's also been with Sporting KC and the Chicago Fire. So he's had a great soccer career. He's a goalie now, but when he was at Lakeside, he was also a forward, had a ton of goals, and made a big impact. Led them to a 21-2 record as a senior, and he had 13 goals and 13 assists in that forward role. He was the AJC Player of the Year, so he's going to be getting in. He's one of the more recent products, but really the list is tremendous. I've just been excited to see how it has taken off after 5 years, and IJ is also getting in this year for the Service Award. I think that's great. I was looking at it. So IJ played 3 sports when he was at Lakeside, obviously went to Alabama after that, was able to walk on the team. He wrote a story about it that went big time, just what it was like inside the program and the day-to-day. It showed IJ's writing ability. Then he got a job with the AJC, has been covering Atlanta sports for years, covered the Braves. Then he went into the business sector, but then came back, started Score Atlanta, and then that has led him to create this Hall of Fame, and that has gone on to do so many great things, whether it's the Corky Kell, Georgia Elite Classic, the Great Atlanta Bash, the Hall of Fame game, everything we do with the scoreboards, all that. So I'm excited for IJ to begin in this weekend. I know his time at Lakeside means a lot to him. That's where his passion for high school athletics was started. And truly, Lakeside was at the center of that universe back in the 80s when they were dominating across the board. But I thought that was exciting. We will be there this Saturday. And then that's all I got for you guys today. You guys go to scoreatl.com. We have the final basketball rankings up. Also have baseball, lacrosse, and soccer rankings are up as well. Baseball will come out tomorrow, but we'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock with Keeping It Real with Najee Wilkins, and then I'll be back in the seat on Friday. So thank you so much for joining us. Have a good week.